very close attention to what I'm going to tell you tonight. We have bombshell revelations from a new round of released emails from WikiLeaks, reportedly from the inbox of Hillary Clinton's campaign chairman, John Podesta. These details are absolutely stunning, and most of the media is not covering this. We're going to go over it in detail. Now, in 2008, the Clinton campaign appeared to conduct a focus group that tested voters' reactions to various attacks that they may have wanted to use against then-Senator Barack Obama in the upcoming primary race. This tells you a lot about the Clintons. Now, here are the topics they were looking at back then and allegedly testing. Quote, Obama's the only candidate at a recent event not to cover his heart during the national anthem, and he stopped wearing an American flag pin. Obama benefited from a land deal from a contributor who's been indicted for corruption. Obama would personally negotiate with leaders of terrorist nations like Iran and North Korea without preconditions. Wow, Hillary did that too. Obama voted against allowing people to use handguns to defend themselves against intruders. Obama planned to raise taxes by $180 billion to pay for his government-run health care plan. Hillary voted for it. Obama also voted repeatedly against emergency funding bills for U.S. troops in Iraq and Afghanistan. Obama's father was a Muslim, and Obama grew up among Muslims in the world's most populous Islamic country. Obama is ranked as one of the 10 most liberal members of the Senate because of his support for issues like gay adoption. Obama voted against requiring medical care for aborted fetuses who survived that procedure. Obama supports giving driver's licenses to undocumented immigrants. By the way, Hillary supported that too. Obama described his former use of cocaine as just using a little blow. So here's more proof that the Clinton campaign has been pushing this Muslim narrative all along. Now, these stunning facts exposed by WikiLeaks, it's only a small portion of what has been uncovered with these released emails. Now, we've also learned that what Hillary Clinton tells you, the American people, about her policy positions in public is very different from what she says in private. You think Clinton would be ashamed to admit that she lies to you, the American people, but no, she actually brags about doing exactly that in a 2013 Wall Street speech where she was paid $225,000. Here are some of her major contradictions. Now, she says she wants to increase the number of Syrian refugees coming into the country by 550%, but the WikiLeaks emails show that in a speech in 2013, she admitted that refugees cannot be properly vetted and could put countries they enter at risk. Stop 1 second. That means she's willing to gamble with your life. Now, Clinton also claims she wants a no-fly zone in Syria, but it was revealed that she was very skeptical about the idea during a speech she gave to Goldman Sachs. Despite being the so-called champion, by the way, also of climate change, well, these emails reveal that she's unsure about supporting or opposing the Keystone Pipeline, and also she praised fracking. Well, that's pretty hypocritical. Now, Clinton also pretends that she's a fierce critic of Wall Street and big banks, but as they were paying her again and again and again, she praised their actions after the 2007 financial collapse while she was talking to bankers who were paying her. And contrary to what she says now in paid speeches, well, Clinton has supported open borders and open trade. She even wants an open hemisphere, we also discovered. And we discovered, too, that these emails, that Clinton's team, they actually tried to use the Benghazi terror attack as a distraction from her private email server scandal. Now, think about that. Who does this? We're talking about 4 dead Americans that died in that attack. And remember, there were 600 requests for extra security, and she didn't send anybody to help them, and she wanted to use their deaths as a political distraction. Who acts like that? And speaking of her email scandal, serious red flags are being raised tonight after emails released earlier today show that John Podesta emailed Clinton aide Cheryl Mills, quote, "You think we should hold emails to and from the POTUS," meaning the President of the United States? Well, that's the heart of his executive privilege. Now, we can get them to ask for that. Now, they may not care, but it seems like they probably will. So it appears now that President Obama did in fact know that Clinton used a private email account, despite publicly saying to you that he learned about it from press reports, just like we did. Now, this shows the Clinton server scandal may very well reach the highest level of government. Mr. President, what did you know? And when did you know it? Now, to me, this helps prove why Clinton's IT team, remember, they used BleachBit to permanently delete tens of thousands of emails instead of wiping it clean with a cloth. In my opinion, it explains the very suspicious, very questionable actions of the FBI Director James Comey and the Attorney General Loretta Lynch, and why Bill Clinton, of course, met privately with Lynch on her private plane for nearly 40 minutes just before she rendered her decision. Now, they couldn't bring charges against Clinton or investigate this too much. Why? Oh, Obama looks to be directly tied to Hillary's scandal. Now, simply put, for President Obama, this would be the equivalent of Watergate. Plus, WikiLeaks also discovered that the campaign was tipped off, in other words, collusion with the Department of Justice about the release of information about Hillary's private email server. And on top of that, collusion with the State Department, because the State Department gave the campaign a heads up about when emails related to the Democratic nominee would be released to the public. But the revelations don't stop there. Now, WikiLeaks also uncovered more about the inner workings of the Clinton Foundation. This is interesting. This is pay to play. Chelsea Clinton in 2011 raised those questions about corruption, about pay to play, and those practices going on inside of her family's charity. But her complaints were ignored, and she was even viciously attacked for speaking out by one of her father's longtime aides, Doug Bann. Well, he called Chelsea a spoiled brat. Now, keep in mind, as the AP has previously reported, remember, 55% of non-governmental people who met with Hillary Clinton while she was Secretary of State, they ended up donating or pledging money to the Clinton Foundation. Is that selling access? Now, ABC News is also reporting that after the 2010 earthquake in Haiti, remember, 150,000 people died, a reported $10 billion in relief aid was being dedicated to that disaster. At that time, Hillary's State Department gave special treatment to Bill Clinton's friends who may have been looking to cash in. Now, the New York Post editorial board called this, quote, the most damning Clinton Foundation story yet. They made separate lists of their friends. Now, the Clinton Foundation, of course, denies this ever happened, but WikiLeaks says otherwise. And there's also more. There's also the blatant hypocrisy of Hillary Clinton and her campaign. Well, they labeled Donald Trump a racist, a sexist, a xenophobe, referring to his supporters, remember, basket of deplorables that are irredeemable. Bill Clinton said they're rednecks. Well, the released emails show that her campaign attacked and mocked Catholics and evangelicals, and that John Podesta, a left-wing activist, he was talking about fomenting revolution within the Catholic Church, and it should be infiltrated so they can inject their progressive values into the church. In one email, Podesta used the subject line, quote, needy Latinos, one easy call for the needy Latinos. And they also leaked emails from the Democratic National Committee. Remember, they showed a sleazy plan to post a fake job listing on Craigslist for a Trump company. The job requirements, no gaining weight, and that you must be open to public humiliation. Also on top of that, there's the issue of liberal mainstream media bias and how it has now become an extension of the Clinton campaign. Now, since 2008, what have I been telling you? Journalism in America is dead. But back then, the press refused to vet Senator Obama. And now we have proof that the abusively biased liberal media is now openly colluding with the Clinton campaign in what is clearly a coordinated effort to put Hillary in the White House. Now, what WikiLeaks found is disturbing. It should be very, very concerning to everybody in this country. Because in emails, we see that CNBC's John Harwood, remember, he moderated a debate. He offered advice to the Clinton campaign, praised Hillary, and bragged about attacking Trump at a primary debate that he was moderating. A New York Times reporter actually allowed the Clinton campaign to edit out certain quotes from Hillary before the story's published. By the way, they never let me do that. Also, the Boston Globe launched an effort to try and boost up Hillary Clinton while she was battling Senator Bernie Sanders in the primaries. Also, the head of Univision, he pushed Team Clinton to attack Trump even harder on issues like immigration. And after a trip to Michigan, the Clinton campaign bragged that every single interviewer was for her. Then over at CNN, Donna Brazile, while working there, appears to have shared a question with the Clinton campaign before a town hall on that very network. Brazile denies it, but the question seems verbatim. Also, there are revelations about how Hillary Clinton and her campaign, feel about you, how they really feel about you, the American people. An email shows that Clinton hated using the term everyday Americans in speeches, and in prepared remarks, Hillary said she was far removed from the struggles of the middle class because of the fortunes her and Bill now enjoy, because they get $250,000 a speech from big banks and lobbyists and insurance companies and Wall Street firms and much more. Huge, huge, huge revelations. Joining us now with reaction, the author of the brand new book. It's out today. It's called Treason. Former Speaker of the House, Fox News contributor, Newt Gingrich. All right, here's what's amazing about this to me. Number one, you see the dark arts of politics that the Clintons played against Obama. That's now revealed in WikiLeaks. And on top of that, you got this collusion, full collusion with the media. They're an extension of Clinton. Then it's also the State Department. They're tipping off Clinton. The Justice Department is tipping off Clinton. The White House is helping Clinton with the email server scandal. And why? Because Obama, who said he learned about the emails like we did from the press, actually was emailing the private email. What do you make of all this? And the media, by the way, all they want to talk about is some new woman that made an allegation this late in the game against Donald Trump.
Well, look, I think you have to see the whole thing as the same thing. You have so much corruption underway now that, you know, you get $1 million check from a dictatorship in the Middle East as a birthday gift for Bill Clinton. Well, in a healthy society, that'd be considered bribery. You get the richest man in Mexico donating millions of dollars to the Clinton Foundation, while he's also the major stockholder in the New York Times, which just happens to be doing everything it can to protect, Hillary Clinton.
Can I just stop you? The $1 million check came from Qatar, a country that allows that its marital rape is legal.
Well, it's also a country which Hillary herself had said was helping support and sustain ISIS.
Yep.
I mean, one of the things, WikiLeaks, there's so much material there that it's going to take a while for it to sink in. But WikiLeaks actually is going to presently give us an entirely new understanding of how sick and how dishonest and how corrupt the left is, and all of its mechanisms, the news media, the bureaucracy, the campaign. And at the center of it are the Clintons, and Hillary Clinton is the most corrupt candidate ever to run for president of the United States. And you're now seeing detail after detail after detail that it's beyond any reasonable question of the depth of their corruption and what they would bring into the White House. If you look at how the $10 billion was supposed to go to help the Haitians after the last earthquake, and what do we have happen?
Yeah.
You suddenly had friends of Bill who came to not people who knew Haiti, not people who had particular skills, but friends of Bill, people who had donated, suddenly got special State Department treatment. This kind of stuff's surfacing now in a way that I suspect the average American over the next week or two is just going to be sickened by the repetitive example of corruption.
Do you think it's a coincidence that here we are 25 days out of a campaign, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, 6 women come out and make allegations against Donald Trump? 6. And do you think it's coincidental it's happening right in the middle of a massive document dump that implicates the Clintons?
Look, if you're the New York Times or CBS News or the Washington Post, and you're desperately propping up the most corrupt candidate in history, you're going to reach for anything. I think it's actually funny today that the man who was cited by that first woman being on the first-class flight in the airplane 30 years ago actually came out of the woodwork, turns out to be British, said, yes, I was sitting across the aisle, no, she's a total liar. I mean, you know, all these things are all going to unravel. But it gives the media a chance for a few days to try to suppress the Trump voter, and I think it makes the polls highly inaccurate because you get 3 or 4 days like this, a lot of voters aren't going to say Donald Trump's name when they're called by a pollster, but they will answer Donald Trump. This is why Rasmussen is very different from some of the polls, because it doesn't require you to tell a person what you're going to do.
That's pretty interesting. And I like what you're saying. It took me 10 minutes to outline just the headlines of what is. There's so much here about collusion with the media, collusion with the State Department, collusion with the Justice Department, and the White House knowing, and Obama lied, and they're talking about erasing emails that are under subpoena. There's a lot here. All right, well, more with Newt Gingrich right after the break. Also, WikiLeaks help reveal just how much the White House knows about the Clinton server scandal. What did they know? When did they know it? Should the case be reopened? Judge Janine Pirro, Kimberly Guilfoyle weigh in later tonight and more.
The media is covering up for the Clintons. And there are many crimes against so many people. The WikiLeaks documents show how the media conspires and collaborates with the Clinton campaign, including giving the questions and answers to Hillary Clinton before the debate, okay? Last night, we had a massive crowd of over 20,000 people in Cincinnati, filled up an arena. And the media won't even talk about the size of the crowd, the enthusiasm of the crowd. The corrupt media is trying to do everything in their power to stop our movement, believe me. They don't want this happening. Carlos Slim, largest owner of the paper from Mexico. Reporters at the New York Times, they're not journalists. They're corporate lobbyists for Carlos Slim and for Hillary Clinton. These lies spread by the media without witnesses, without backup or anything else, are poisoning the minds of the electorate.
Donald Trump earlier today out on the campaign trail going after a very corrupt news media in this country. You know, this really is, I mean, this is sick. This is really troubling. Univision, NBC, CNBC, MSNBC, CNN, the New York Times, the Boston Globe. I mean, every major media group is basically an extension of the Clinton campaign, and it's revealed. I've always said journalism is dead. Now we have the evidence and proof to back up what I've said, but it really puts Donald Trump at a disadvantage. How should he deal with these allegations that are coming up last minute to smear him and get his message out? What should the message be?
First of all, Barry Castleman wrote a blog this week in which he said this was literally a media coup d'etat. This was an effort by the media starting last Friday to replace the chosen nominee and destroy the chosen nominee of one of our two major parties. And it was an all-out effort, virtually a lynching by the news media. Now, I think the way you beat that and the way Ronald Reagan beat it, the way we beat it in 1994, is you take a set of key messages that you know will win in the end. I was reminded, John Engler, with the year he won the governorship against the incumbent governor, the Sunday morning before the election, the Detroit Liberal newspaper came out and said that Engler was going to lose by 14 points. 2 days later, he won by 1 point. It's a 15-point spread. And, of course, they were trying to depress Republicans, get them to decide not to vote, get them to stay home. Trump's got to stay big. He's got to go right at Hillary as the most corrupt candidate in history. He's got to go right at Carlos Slim, the amount of money the various Slim organizations have given, paid and speeches given to the foundation, the relationship of Slim and the New York Times. And I love it when the head of the New York Times explains, oh, that there's no real relationship. Right. The richest guy in Mexico, who is your biggest single stockholder, has no real effect on you. Give me a break. The level of dishonesty is breathtaking, and I think you see it in the Washington Post.
But it looks like Trump's going to have to do it by himself. I mean, you and I are the only ones that will tell this story.
Well, I think, but Trump, listen, the thing that makes Trump so remarkable is if he stays at the level he was at this afternoon, if he hammers home the facts, if they, as they did last night when they took on Hillary for her Brazilian secret speech where she said she really wanted a hemisphere without borders, and Trump took her head on and said, look, that means 600 million people could come in the U.S. That means Mexican drug dealers, you know, Colombian cocaine dealers, MS-13 from El Salvador could all come in this. When you get that message out there, and between social media, the giant rallies he has, and remember, you get 20,000 people at a rally, you have 20,000 people on Facebook, you have 20,000 people on Instagram.
That's a good point.
I mean, I've been at these rallies, so he creates his own mini network everywhere he goes, and it's much more than just the people in the room. It's all of their electronic connection.
All right,
the message is very simple. Are you going to let a corrupt media decide the fate of your country?
It's a profound, deep question, and there's a lot of work to do after this. By the way, now you
but I have to end on a happy note. This is the first event on television ever of Ellis the Elephant, the plush toy version.
Now, by the way,
Callista's new book,
tomorrow,
of
while you're
course,
saying that, you're going to be at Barnes & Noble in Fairfax, Virginia. What time tomorrow?
We'll be there at 1 o'clock, and Callista and I will both be there. And the real Ellis the Elephant will be there also for pictures with kids, so it'll be a lot of fun.
Next week you're at the Nixon and Reagan libraries if people want to see out there.
We sure are.
Are you going to be in Vegas?
No, I'm doing a debate watch party in Los Angeles, and then catching a red eye to go see my grandchildren.
All right, Mr. Speaker, thank you. 25 days to go.
Good to see you.
All right, coming up. In the wake of the damning new revelations exposed by WikiLeaks, should the case on Clinton's private email server now be reopened? Yes, it should. Judge Jeanine Pirro, Kimberly Guilfoyle are next, and later, former Governor Mike Huckabee and Dr. Ben Carson are here as we continue.
WikiLeaks released new Clinton campaign emails revealing how friendly Hillary was with the Attorney General Loretta Lynch. This was only months prior to Lynch's investigation of Hillary's illegal secret email server that gave foreign governments access to our confidential information. This comes on the heels of disclosure that Clinton campaign was conspiring and colluding with the State Department and Justice Department over the release of her emails and the investigation into her server.
Donald Trump earlier today talking about the new WikiLeaks revelations related to Hillary Clinton's server scandal. Now, among them was an email from Clinton's campaign chairman, John Podesta, to Clinton aide Cheryl Mills. Now, Podesta discussed Hillary's server scandal, asking, quote, well, you think we should hold emails to and from the POTUS, President of the United States? Well, that's the heart of the executive privilege, or his executive privilege. We could get them to ask for that. Now, they may not care, but it seems like they will. Here with reaction, the co-host of The Five, Kimberly Guilfoyle, the host of Justice, Judge Jeanine Pirro. Okay, we got to slow down here because we got collusion. We know that the State Department contacted Hillary's campaign, gave them a heads up. We know that the Justice Department gave Hillary's campaign a heads up. We know now that the White House was actively involved because the president, who said he learned about the emails in the press, ended up getting emails to and from Hillary. Now, I would say because of everyone's involvement, we need an outside investigator. We need a grand jury impaneled. And there is a possibility, first of all, that if they destroyed those emails and they were under subpoena, that's a crime. That's called obstruction of justice. So she could get elected and be impeached within days. True or false?
Well, you're right. She could get elected and be impeached, but here's the problem. You've got the Clintons who have their tentacles all over. This is a textbook example of collusion, corruption, and a banana republic. You've got the Department of Justice, the FBI, the State Department, as well as the White House,
all in collusion,
in agreement just to make sure that Hillary gets in. I mean, the deal is everybody's in on the deal except for the American people. You can get the Justice Department or a special prosecutor with grand jury powers to start all over. But here's the problem. Jim Comey destroyed some of the evidence. Jim Comey allowed for the destruction of some of the evidence.
It makes you wonder what they have on Jim Comey.
Well, you know what? It makes you wonder.
Because his actions don't make any sense.
I agree. I know him to be a different man, but I am terribly disappointed.
You think there's a possibility they may have something on him? I
don't know what they did to him or why he did what he did, but it's contrary to the law.
But here, if we're in the middle of an investigation, why would the Justice Department be talking to the Clinton campaign? Is there any justifiable reason, just like any justifiable reason Bill Clinton got on a plane for 40 minutes with Loretta Lynch?
No, the impropriety of it, the lack of ethics and morality. I mean, this is a big problem. And now here you have the proof is in the pudding in these emails to show the collusion, to show the desire to obstruct justice, to perpetrate a fraud upon the American people. It is outrageous. We're both former prosecutors. And when you see something like this, it really shocks the conscience. And by the way, this is about someone who may take the most important office in the world, the presidency of the United States.
I want to dig deeper into this because we know Obama lied when he told the American people, oh, I just learned about it in the press like all of you.
Yes.
That was a lie. Okay, so now we have an issue. If that evidence was subpoenaed, the emails, and John Podesta and Cheryl Mills are conspiring to erase them and get rid of them, and he's invoking executive privilege as a means of getting out from under this cloud, what did the president know? And when did he know it?
And that's exactly the problem, because you've got this cover-up, and generally the cover-up is worse than the crime itself. You've got the president saying he had no idea that she had this private server.
And he's emailing her on it.
He's emailing her on it. And I said right from the beginning, the reason there were no charges by Comey is because the first witness for Hillary Clinton for the defense would be President Barack Obama, because he was communicating with her on a private server less secure than Google, less secure than Gmail.
Wait a minute. So did Obama influence his attorney general and his State Department?
Of course he did.
Okay, but that is against the law.
No kidding. But if you listen to Loretta Lynch, you think she's made an independent decision in her life?
No.
When she meets with Bill Clinton on an airplane, and then 2 days later Hillary Clinton says, if I become president, I'm going to appoint her attorney general, this is a banana republic, and we're the stooges in it.
Well, and it's the way the Clintons do business. It's the way Bill Clinton, Hillary Clinton, the Clinton Foundation, and by the way, they were passing out immunity like party favors to everybody, including Cheryl Mills, who was also advising Hillary at the time.
So basically they did it to shut the case down.
Right, and you're going to have to ask a judge, too, to set aside, perhaps, some of the immunity grants. But in a proffer agreement, isn't it given specific information that you're going to hand over? So there may still be some openings somewhere, but I'm assuring they probably dotted their I's and crossed their T's here.
The proffer agreement is only issued by the Department of Justice when the person making the proffer is offering them evidence of a crime. Otherwise, there's no point of giving immunity.
Why would the FBI ever agree as part of the deal to destroy evidence?
Because they wanted to get rid of it, pure and simple. Sometimes the most simple answers are the ones that first come to mind.
Right.
And so what they didn't count on is that WikiLeaks had all of them.
That
would expose it. Yeah, that's the thing. That was the unknown variable that came forward that will haunt them. And the problem is we're real close to the election here, and there's a strong likelihood she could be the next president. Now what?
But they knew
Impeach her.
They knew WikiLeaks was coming out, which is why they saved all of the Trump stuff. They knew they were in deep trouble, and they said, let's hold all this.
So that's where the women come from. Well, 5 at once.
The bottom line is you wonder why these allegations weren't brought forward, and then also why the media was complicit in holding things like the tape to bring it forward for maximum impact.
All right, by the way, between the two, you guys got a lot of bling. I'm noticing your
she's got much
earrings
more.
and
she's got the good stuff.
I am totally like,
but don't even go there.
I don't wear jewelry at all. I don't even have a ring. I don't have nothing. All right.
You got something better.
Yeah, you do.
Coming up next tonight on Hannity.
If I watched Fox News, I wouldn't vote for me. I understand. If I was listening to Rush Limbaugh, I'd say, man, this is terrible.
There's Obama back out there campaigning and for Hillary Clinton and attacking talk radio. Conservatives, Fox News, big shock. Former Governor Mike Huckabee, Dr. Ben Carson will weigh in as we continue. Obama was out campaigning for Hillary Clinton yesterday. Instead of talking about her record, well, he began criticizing Republicans, talk radio, Fox News. Wow, back to the same old, same old. Watch this.
Some of these folks on talk radio started talking about how I was the Antichrist. This is in the swamp of crazy. Look, if I watched Fox News, I wouldn't vote for me. I understand. If I was listening to Rush Limbaugh, I'd say, man, it's terrible.
Joining us now, two former 2016 GOP presidential candidates, former Arkansas Governor Mike Huckabee, Dr. Ben Carson. With all the revelations, Governor Huckabee, with the collusion with the Clinton campaign in the White House, the collusion with the State Department, the collusion with the Justice Department, doesn't it seem odd, the timing, all the women in one day, right in the middle of the WikiLeaks dump, that show all of this, that show that even the president lied to us about when he got emails from Hillary?
You know, it's not surprising to me, Sean, because this is exactly what I experienced in Arkansas at the hands of the Clinton political machine every time I was on the ballot. Within weeks, usually sometimes days of the election, there would be all manner of the craziest stuff imaginable being thrown, even lawsuits filed, everything you can imagine and more, to give the press something to talk about and write about other than the issues of the election. So it looks very familiar to me. I've not only seen it, I've been there in the middle of it before, and not the least bit surprised by it. Let me just say this. So far, we can't verify a lot of these allegations, but let me tell you what we can verify. We can verify that if Hillary is elected, we have a real good shot at losing religious liberty, the Second Amendment, the Fourth and the Fifth, having open borders, leaving
Open
Israel
hemisphere.
to blow in the wind. We can verify that this country is going to take a very, very negative direction, and that's what we need to be focused on.
And Dr. Carson, when you look at the collusion with the media seems they're not paying attention to some of the most profound things that have been revealed here. The propaganda efforts, the lying efforts, the collusion that has gone on here. No, they just want to talk about the new allegations while simultaneously ignoring Juanita Broderick, Paula Jones, and Kathleen Willey and Kathy Shelton, who I interviewed last night. So it shows that everything we learned in WikiLeaks about NBC, CBS, ABC, CNN, MSNBC, the New York Times, the Boston Globe is all true. That they're in bed with the Clintons. So the Clintons now want them to talk about the women that make allegations but only against Trump and ignore WikiLeaks. They're just taking orders from the Clintons, it seems.
Yeah, it does seem that way. It's so predictable. And, you know, a week or two ago, I predicted that exactly this would happen. I said that the tape was not going to be the last thing. There'd be another thing the next week and another thing the next week, because that's what they do, because they don't want to discuss the issues. I mean, wouldn't it be refreshing to have an open and honest discussion between Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump about why he wants to lower taxes and why she wants to raise them? Explain the rationale behind that, why he wants to secure our borders, why she wants to have open borders. I think it will be a fascinating discussion, and the American people deserve to know the differences. We're not giving it to them.
You know, Governor, when you look at the media, and that establishment is for Hillary, and that's now confirmed. And, you know, CNN feeding questions to Hillary, MSNBC being fed questions to ask Hillary in a lead up to an election. And then you got the Republican establishment. They're weak, they cut and run, and they never liked the insurgency of Donald Trump to begin with. Then you got the Democratic establishment. It's like everybody's against him. Then you see the poll numbers the way they are, Hillary in the lead in the polls. Do you think that Donald Trump has a fair shot at winning this at this point, 25 days out?
Well, I do think he's got to start focusing solely on the issues that pack those rallies out by the tens of thousands. He can't let himself take the bait and respond to all these allegations, because then he spends too much time, just gives more attention, and he validates a lot of the accusations. So my advice, focus on the fact of the contrast between Donald Trump, Hillary Clinton, and it's major. It's significant. And by the way, I have to comment, when Barack Obama said that if everybody had listened to Fox News, he wouldn't have been elected, that proves right there, Sean, that people should have been watching Fox News and not all the other stuff, and maybe we wouldn't have had the past 8 years with a totally broken economy.
All right, guys, thank you both for being with us. 25 days to go. When we come back, First Lady Michelle Obama, she's hitting the campaign trail hard for Hillary Clinton, but the Obamas and Clintons, they've not always been friends. We'll explain that in more detail as Hannity continues.
People who are truly strong lift others up. People who are truly powerful bring others together. And that is what we need in our next president. We need someone who is a uniting force in this country. We need someone who will heal the wounds that divide us. Someone who truly cares about us and our children. Someone with strength and compassion to lead this country forward. And let me tell you, I'm here today because I believe with all of my heart that Hillary Clinton will be that president.
All right, that was First Lady Michelle Obama praising Hillary Clinton at a campaign event yesterday. But back in 2007, when then Senator Obama was locked in a primary fight with Hillary Clinton, Michelle Obama was singing a very different tune. Take a look.
One of the things, the important aspects of this race is role modeling what good families should look like. And my view is that if you can't run your own house, you certainly can't run the White House. Can't do it.
Now, I wonder if the First Lady thinks after today's WikiLeaks document dump a little bit differently. Now, as we revealed earlier in the show, now the Clinton campaign back in 2008 appeared set on pushing a narrative that Obama's father was a Muslim. And they also wanted to bring up the fact that he liked to do blow, cocaine use. Joining us now, radio talk show host Rose Tennant, the author of Government Gone Wild. Kristen Tate is back with us. All right, so let's go over some of this. Kristen, good to see you again, by the way.
Good to
Congrats
see you.
on the book.
Thank you, Sean.
All right, so we know that back in 2008 that they were focusing on the fact that he wouldn't put his hand over his heart or wear a flag pin. The Clinton campaign was saying he'd negotiate with terrorist nations like Iran and North Korea, that he voted against the use of handguns for people to defend themselves, that he was going to raise taxes by $180 billion to pay for Obamacare, that his father was a Muslim, and Obama grew up among Muslims, and he's one of the most liberal senators in the Senate, and it goes on from there, and he did a little blow.
Yep, well, these Democrats are such flagrant hypocrites. But you know what? Michelle Obama is going to get up there. She's going to put her acting shoes on, bring out her shaky, upset voice to express how horrified she is. It's called politics, and Republicans need to get used to it. Trump's biggest foe right now isn't Michelle Obama. It's not Hillary. It's not even the media. It's the GOP establishment. Say what you will about the Democrats. They are very good at coming together when they need to win elections.
Oh, they fight.
Oh, well, they come together, though, when they need to. Meanwhile, the GOP is throwing the only candidate who can beat Hillary Clinton under the bus. I mean, look at Hillary's most effective ads. It's all other Republicans slandering Trump. And these establishment pukes think they are such angels for walking away from their imperfect
candidate. You sound like
candidate.
me. I think you got talk radio in your future. There's no doubt about it. Rose, let me bring you into this.
She does. She does.
But you know something? They don't like each other. This is a phony act. And if Michelle Obama's so outraged over Donald Trump's tape, you would think maybe she thought, well, not that well of, let's see, Paula and Juanita and Kathleen and Kathy Shelton.
You know, I'm sure Michelle Obama dreads getting up every day and doing the job she's got to do. I know Ed Klein has been telling me for years how much the Clintons are despised and disliked by the Obamas, the Obamas. But you know what, Sean? Something Kristen said. She's right. The real enemy is the GOP, and I wouldn't disagree with her at all. But I'd like to just remind everyone that the movie they're watching play out right now, with the parade of women that the left and the media is bringing out, happened before. If you remember Herman Cain, who was this black conservative that people really, really liked. He was wowing crowds. He was so dynamic in his speeches, so inspirational. I was at quite a few rallies with him. The people were falling in love with him. He could eat Obama for lunch in a debate, and that scared the left. So what did they do? They brought out the blonde bombshell from Chicago. Gloria
What did you
Allred
think? Let me
showed
ask
up.
Rose,
It's the same cast of characters right
How
now.
does they do this at 5 women just in the middle of the WikiLeaks dumps? So here we are, 20 days out. Let's just dump 5 women on them. So that's all the media is going to focus on, not what we're focusing on.
The timing of all of this is very suspicious, but it's just a ploy to deflect people's attention away from the issues, away from Hillary's scandals,
Will it work?
and on to these
Will
things.
this work?
It is so far. The media has been, reporting on this stuff nonstop, and the GOP is just making it worse. What's Paul Ryan doing? He's spending his time trashing Trump. The GOP elites say they hate Trump. They created Trump. They were in the Congress for 8 years. They gave Obama everything he wanted. There was no pushback. Now the voters are fed up, and this is what we've got.
Rose, last word.
Well, you know what? I'd like to say that I don't think it's going to work. They're trying the same play from the same playbook, and it's not going to work this time. Not with Donald Trump. It just won't. And I'll tell you something else. As long as Donald Trump stays on the offense and doesn't go to defense, he can win this. That's what he did at the debate. When he came off the debate and showed up at his rallies, people were going crazy. And that's what he needs to do, stay on the offense. Yeah.
Good to see you both. Appreciate it.
Good
and when
to
we
see
come
you
back,
too. Thank you.
We need your help. Very important question of the day straight ahead. All right, time for our question of the day. So why is the media not spending more time covering the WikiLeaks emails Well, it's pretty obvious, right? Just go to facebook.com/Sean Hannity. There's media people here. You know why? Because they want Hillary to win. Simple answer. Anyway, also on Twitter, you want to come on and debate? @Sean Hannity. Quick programming note. Tune in Monday night. We'll be in Las Vegas ahead of Wednesday's third and final presidential debate. That's all the time we have left this evening. As always, thank you for being with us. Hope you have a great weekend. Let's see if a liberal can catch. Ready?